Dzień dobry, szanowni państwo. Mam zaszczyt i przyjemność powitać w
It's my sheer and utter pleasure to welcome you on the third day of the 39th Europe of Carpathia conference. And you are going to witness the discussions on local governments. We are going to exchange experiences with regards collaboration between the countries, regions and municipalities of the regions, future cohesion policy and impact on Carpathia regions, local governments. Michał Przemyśl, the Local Innovation Center, will be the moderator, and he is responsible for telling you who the panelists are. So let us remain seated. It's Sunday, and on top of that, it is a day when I don't want to use the word we want to distance ourselves, but we'd like to be calm and peaceful, as it should be on Sundays. A very warm welcome to panelists. Hello to Marshal Władysław Ortel, the Marshal of the region. MP Arkadiusz Mularczyk is also with us. Marek Chudak, who's come here from Slovakia. Przemyśl, he is a local MP. Thank you very much for coming. And it goes to Bukowsko Mayor Marek Wańkowski. As you can see, there are different perspectives, regional and local government's perspective, and broader perspective, Brussels perspective. This is the lenses for the discussion on the future. We are waiting for Wojciech Piech from Warsaw's office. Małopolskie, sorry. He'll be joining us when he joins us here. I believe that you know it all well. Called up on numerous occasions, New Perspective past 2027. Speaking about cohesion policy. We are going to speak about chances and threats in the situations when other policies, safety, energy, become the attention focus, and we focus on cohesion policy and sustainable development of the regions. We want to answer a question: what tools have proven practical, because we've got practitioners in discussions on macro regions collaboration in Polish regions, Slovak regions. Only over the recent years and two perspectives, there were thousands of projects, be it infrastructure, social projects. So this is a starting point. We know what the value is, but will we be able to keep the value is the question. Allow me with the first question that goes to Władysław Ortel. Not only does he watch and support the collaboration, he is the proponent of collaboration, but he is also a member of the Regions Committee in Brussels. Marshal, would you please tell us about the significance of this policy for the development of the region in the recent years? And are you afraid of the limitation of resources in the new perspective past 2027? Thank you very much. Hello to all of you. I'd like to thank Speaker Marek Kuchciński for being consequent in acting for the benefit of Carpathia, and instruments that beautifully develop this land. Without financial instruments, without financial resources, it is impossible to develop. Everybody knows. We are not rediscovering the wheel here. we need to remember that European funds have a strong impact on the development of our country, trans-border policy. So we are on the international arena this way. To make it possible, the cohesion policy, well, we are in the perspective that is about to end. We started the new perspective, a new programming period debate, but the signals that have reached us are alarming because there are attempts to limit cohesion funds resources, and that policy can be centralized, they say. So the utilization of the resources in regional and local government setting might not be there any longer. Polish governments have been already ready to utilize the funds. There are competent structures, people who are ready. It's a unique thing that started in 2005. 40 or 45% of resources that have been earmarked by the European Union have been implemented and utilized at the local level. So we are the managing bodies that open competitions, call for proposals, prepare programs, again agendas. Powiat and communal governments, local governments are the serious partners in utilization of these resources, and you can see tangible results. Tangible results create the added value with the budgetary funds, the transfers that we witnessed in the previous period when Law and Justice were the ruling party, resulted in cumulation with European funds and produced wonderful results. If we want to do something together, and this is our dream, because Carpathian strategy can be exemplified in relation to a very good example, the one in the Alps. Something that we long for, that we want to strive and attain. If we don't have enough funds, we won't be able to translate the partnerships that have already started under this umbrella. These concepts, why do we have them? It's difficult to explain. If we look at meetings and gatherings that I have participated, be it the European Parliament and Committee of the Regions, and all kinds of conferences, I haven't found any people admitting that they want to centralize the money distribution, but still there is this threat. So any proponent or opponent of centralizing the policy is valuable. We don't have the MP to discuss it with us. I'm speaking about Brussels and the European Commission that pretends that they know what is the best for Przemyśl, or even Warsaw knows the best. That we used to have this situation, and this kind of management should become the thing of the past. So these discussions, these debates should shape and develop cohesion policy. Hardly do I imagine development and continue what we have already started without European funds distributed this way. You know it well. You do one thing that is fueled with European money, but this is the sparks that ignites the whole chain, that you have to do another thing and another. And this change of management may impede this process and create problems. Thank you, Marshall. And over to Euro MP Mularczyk. He sees it the best because he's the closest to assess it. Who do we compete with regards to the money? I remember my experience. I was younger. When I was working at European Parliament, I was eager to know how the money is distributed, and much depends on local and national coalitions, fractions, and how countries collaborate, because as a matter of fact, they compete. Hardly do we see it outside, but still. Cohesion funds money, if this is directed anywhere else, who is our main rival from the point of view of Poland and regions? First and foremost, I'd like to express my gratitude to Speaker Kochciński for inviting me to join this conference. Another in the series that I have the pleasure of taking part in. And I'm very happy to see the continuation. European and international ambience changes and evolves, be it countries or European Union or on the other side of the ocean have witnessed elections, and people in the driving seats have changed. Realities changed, but the strategy of Carpathians and Central and Eastern Europe should remain the same, because the challenges are quite similar, be it Slovakia, Romania, Poland's regions, and the whole Carpathian region. The challenges and pain points are quite similar. We speak about Carpathians, Central Europe, Central and Eastern Europe, no matter which name you use. Our region is quite vast when compared with other European Union countries. I'm speaking about Central Europe or the Tri-Sea or 13 countries in the Central Europes that cluster into a region and present huge human and demographic potential. Yet at the same time, that development level is lower compared to Western Europe countries. Returning to your question, well, it's a challenge for us. We know that our competitors are quite serious. They exercise wonderful lobbying in Brussels, Strasbourg, European Parliament. These are wealthy companies and corporations from Western Europe's companies, big companies and regions, German, French, Spanish, that have greater capital compared to our regions and sub-regions. Bearing in mind the power setup in Europe and European Parliament, this setup requires collaboration, liaisons with other countries of CEE. So for this terms of office in the Parliament, I set up a goal for myself. I want to unite the countries and parliamentarians from CEE in order to promote and exercise lobbying of our interest. Therefore, at the beginning of the terms, I started the Tri-Sea initiative that brings together 13 countries from the Baltic to the Adriatic and the Black Sea in order to promote our regional strategies, including the strategy for Carpathians. Because many countries are in scope, many countries of this region. Parliamentarians from CEE and Eastern Europe and Baltic states and Romania have demonstrated huge interest. This pertains to Croatia or even Greece. They realize that region's development is necessary so that we can enhance development, we can pursue financial resources that make it possible to develop this part of Europe, the part of Europe that we all live in. Challenges are huge because there is much to catch up with versus other countries. This pertains to infrastructure, railways, digitization. This impeded development of the fact that we have to chase Western Europe has been associated with depopulation of our regions. Not only do I speak about Poland and this part of Poland, but also Slovakia, Bulgaria, Romania, the Baltic states. We can see huge outflux of people towards Western Europe. And there's baby bust that we are experiencing here. This is one of the challenges that we have to notice and see, and we have to find collaboration field for the countries of our regions by preparing attractive projects. They are attractive not only for Poland, but also for Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, the Baltic states, so that all countries in the region see their chances to collaborate. It's been noticed in the Parliament and in Brussels. Countries want to collaborate because they have noticed huge challenges related to European Union's processes, which can be called centralization processes. Lots of EU bureaucracy, especially people who are not elected by people, strive for centralization, appropriation of funds and deciding where to earmark the funds. It is important to work out local strategies in collaboration with local governments, EMPs, so that we exercise strong lobbying for the benefit of the project. Podkarpacie, Małopolska, Lubelskie region, Świętokrzyskie region, neighbors from Slovakia, Hungary and Romania, is important to create strategic programs that enhance the development of our sub-regions and Europe of the Carpathians. No matter who is the ruling party in Poland, America, Europe, we need to have a coherent strategy, and this strategy serves the purpose of the region's development and boosting the standards of life. Marek, we set a different order. I've used your first name because we've known each other for quite long. Those who want to use interpretation services reach out for the transmitters so we can hear the translation. Slovakia. In your opinion, is Slovakia ready for cohesion funds compact in the upcoming perspective? Are you going to exercise solidarity together with Poland at the European level? And this determination, Przemyśl, has been different compared to what used to be 10 years ago with the European funds aid.
Thank you. First of all, I'm sorry. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, first of all, for your invitation, me to be here. On behalf of Mr. Majerski, our president of our Przemyśl self-governing region. Also, let me thank you for your support of Podkarpackie region after the earthquakes in 2023. Mr. President, thank you very much. We really appreciate this solidarity between our regions. Regarding the question, during the current period, 2021-2027, around 20% of all EU funds are dedicated to the regions in Slovakia. Mr. Ortel said that you have 44% in Poland dedicated to regions. But unlike Poland, we do not announce calls and manage calls on the regional level. Entire management of these EU funds is on the national level. And this is only very partial decentralization. For comparison, during this programming period, since 2021, we have fourth government in Slovakia. Fourth government, so 4 rounds of personal changes, and so on and so on. So this have a very, very negative impact on EU funds absorption to the regions. Around 38% of all EU funds are managed in completely managed in regions, like in Podkarpackie or in Poland in general. 38% of all EU regions, to be accurate. From our position of Special Self-Governing Region in Committee of the Regions, by Mr. Majerski as a president, as a new member of the Committee of the Regions, we aim to change and adjust this system. This means we are discussing the setup of cohesion policy, where the position of Przemyśl self-governing region is to advocate for strengthening the direct access to the EU funds from local level and regional level, and making use of integrated territorial investments, so it means regional principle, mandatory after the 2027. On Friday, 2 days ago, Kata Tuto, president of Committee of the Regions, new president from Hungary, she said that if you just divert blood from the brain to the arms, you will get nowhere. Cohesion policy is the long-term glue that holds the EU together, transforming it into a kind of rapid glue for short-term fixes will come at a price. So I can't disagree with her. So I really appreciate, and we really appreciate that over all political groups in the Committee of Regions, we all together defend cohesion policy after 2027. Yeah, it's really important. In this context, on behalf of our president, Mr. Majerski, we thank to Mr. Ortel for inviting us to the international Carpathian group within the Committee of the Regions. We are convinced that this is a very good platform, valuable platform to discuss and promote all our common strategies, our common goals, Carpathian goals. So one of the best examples how we can develop our regions, Carpathian region in general, is, for example, Interreg program. But maybe I will speak more in the next slot about that. Thank you.
Dziękuję bardzo. Jak widać.
Very much for these words, and definitely there is a very strong conviction, a very strong belief among our neighbors that this cohesion policy needs to consistently be funded in the next perspective. And now let's talk about some specific effects and outcomes. I'm asking the president of the Bukowsko municipality, so the local authority, tell us about your needs and where those funds, those cohesion funds are really necessary, so that, municipalities in the mountains, municipalities that are close to the borders can really grow and thrive, especially as they work in cross-border programs with their neighbors on the other side of the border. So where do you need the money most? Thank you very much for having me on this panel. It's a chance for me to promote my municipality, Bukowsko, where I'm the president already in my second term. Thank you for inviting me. And also congratulations, because I've been part of this conference for a very long time. I mean, before I was a member of the audience, and everything is really inspiring for people like us, like, managers of local authorities. That's really inspiring. So now I'm appearing as a panelist. So, well, my municipality, Bukowsko, is in the mountains, in the southeast. And, well, our region, due to the fact that it's mountainous and due to the fact that it's quite far away from bigger cities, those regions, those areas are more difficult to manage in terms of infrastructure. It's more difficult to build infrastructure here in our region, in those lower mountains, so-called foothills, and we have issues with, for example, sewage infrastructure. And the previous government actually supported us quite significantly. My municipality, Bukowsko, or other municipalities in the area, regardless of their political views of those local authorities, because it's difficult when you are remote, when you are in a mountainous region, to build infrastructure. Also, roads are an important area where we need funds. I mean, roads that connect different municipalities, and also we are located close to the border, so those roads are really important, not just connecting municipalities and townships on our side, but also they are important from the point of view of cross-border collaboration, like, for example, with Slovak, who are our great neighbors. But not just Slovaks, right? We have also neighbors and partners on the other side of the border in Ukraine. From our point of view, from my point of view, as a representative of local authorities, it's really important to invest in buildings, in our infrastructure in terms of buildings. I mean, public buildings, right? Schools and cultural and community centers, because we believe that all those soft measures, soft activities that are societal and cultural in nature are very important for our population. And it's really important when we collaborate internationally, because culture, if you have good infrastructure, can really spread. And we can offer something really, really good quality in the area of culture and societal projects. Also, many local authorities, including my municipality of Bukowsko, we do a lot of exchange projects, exchange initiatives. We have amazing partners from Slovakia. Actually, we're in touch every single day. We do interesting things together, including projects projects that modernize our buildings. And actually, once we've modernized our buildings, we can collaborate. We can get to know one another. We can come closer together as local communities, because the Carpathian culture is immensely rich and intricate. So, before we had lots of barriers, lots of obstacles in coming together. But right now, we just can learn and, introduce ourselves to one another a bit more and get to know one another a bit more. And for that, you need infrastructure. Another area that's really important where we need money is water retention. And I think everyone can see, like, for example, what happened last winter, hardly any snow. And think about basically our water supplies and how much water we have. Actually, as I was coming over here to you, I was driving among hills, and I was looking at forests, I was looking at roadsides. It's very dry. We may be experiencing some drought. In February, I remember that we had to bring water to farms, to households, because streams and creeks dried up during the winter. Also, thanks to money from our regional government, our provincial or province level government, we can recultivate and modernize our retention infrastructure, water retention infrastructure. But you know what we're doing right now is not really enough. We need a lot of funds to recultivate what we have, like the Solina body of water. Adam Piątkowski, the president of the Solina municipality, we had a presentation together, and we talked about both Sieniawa and Solina bodies of water, retention bodies of water that they needed to be dredged. We need to remove silt from them. So it's really, really important to take care of our water and water resources. And I would say water management will be one of major topics for decades or even ages to come, centuries to come. Not only in the Podkarpacie region, actually, because there's another municipality that we partner with, which is not so close to us, and we visited them, and it's a disaster. It's in Slovakia, this body of water. It's called Domasha, and their situation is quite disastrous, I would say. And I think that's an issue in the entire Carpathian region for the decades to come. It will be an issue that will continue to reverberate. So we cannot even imagine not having the cohesion policy in place. We can't imagine living without it. I can't even think of anyone coming up with the idea to somehow restrict it, because then Carpathians will just stop growing, stop developing, or infrastructure will stop developing. Right, it's a great example. You gave us a lot of examples that we shouldn't talk about restricting cohesion funds, but actually we have to look at expanding this policy. But it could be difficult because there's a lot of competition in the country, but also, you know, Europe has a lot of challenges. We have Wojciech Piech, acting Marshal of the Małopolskie region. So tell us about your regional government, your neighboring, the neighboring regional government, because I'm sure in your region you follow very much what happens in our region and vice versa, and maybe you also have similar challenges. So tell us what kind of added value we can get from cross-border collaboration, from regional or trans-regional collaboration, because I'm sure you're also very active in terms of cross-border activities and initiatives. Right. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. I would like to thank the Podkarpackie regional, the Podkarpackie province for inviting me to this panel. Space and time have collided, and some kind of arrangements have stood in the way. So Leszek, my superior, cannot be here, but I'm here in his stead, and I'm very happy for that. Well, macro-regional policy for my region, Małopolska, and for other regions in the Carpathian Mountains, that's absolutely major, absolutely key to really involve in macro-regional collaboration. And it's based in facts. We just know that lots of things that we do in my region really goes to show that we recognize the importance of macro-regional policy. But how far are we in this process of implementing this very macro-regional policy? It's great to have this dialogue in place between regional governments at international level, and it's nice to see this dialogue among research institutions. So this dialogue is ongoing, but whether this process and whether the pace, the speed of this process, is it suitable for our times and our needs? I'm not sure. So I think that this process should accelerate, actually. And the world isn't standing still. There's more and more competition. So for years, for decades, there have been some areas where macro-regional policies have been designed, developed, and implemented. Like I'm thinking right now about the Alpine region and the cohesion policy for the Alpine region, but also the Adriatic Sea, in the Danube as well. I mean, one of the oldest areas and activities in macro-regional policy goes back to 25 years ago. They've been doing this for 25 years, and we're still sort of planning, developing, declaring things. I mean, the European Union has its strategy for the Carpathian region, but, you know, it's not suitable, or it doesn't match our aspirations and what we strive for. Also, I'd like to mention something that the speakers before me said. Of course, we wouldn't like cohesion funds to be restricted, right? To be curbed. But when you look at different scenarios that may unfold, you know, we have to accept that it may happen. Those funds may well be curbed. So what's our antidote? What should our response be? Basically, funding is really important, getting funding from our government. But it's even more important to collaborate, to maintain solidarity, and to maintain this awareness of the fact that we're one region. So some of those areas are diversified, they have different levels of development. There is quite some diversity in our Carpathian region. There is a lot of resources, I mean, culturally, naturally. And all those regions face the same challenges despite their diversity. You know, environmental challenges, climate, infrastructural deficits, sustainability. Everyone is facing similar challenges, similar issues. Things like depopulation and people sort of draining away, and climate change as well. Also deficits in our transport infrastructure, or, you know, restricted access to public services for some people. So this is common for many parts of the Carpathian region. So I think that it's inevitable that cohesion funds will be restricted. It's inevitable. So in the face of this challenge, we have to intensify our dialogue. I mean, this conference is all about that, right? Europe of the Carpathians. Congratulations for organizing this conference and doing it on a regular basis to maintain our dialogue. We need to intensify our collaboration. Also, central governments, local governments, NGOs, scientists, research centers, they all have to come together in dialogue, in collaboration, to make sure that our voice in Europe is heard to a larger degree, because I don't think it's heard enough. Also, I think we need to make sure that whatever we do together is really productive and efficient, and think about those regions that are in the Carpathians but are outside of the EU. I'm talking about Ivano-Frankivsk. I'm talking about Zaporizhia, right? Only when they are involved, we can talk about true collaboration. I'm not sure if I really answered your question 100%, but your question actually provoked in me some broader thinking. I think we need to coordinate our actions, but I think we're doing it a little bit too slowly. We should start coordinating more quickly. In other words, right, thank you so much. Thank you for giving us a bit of a broader perspective. Sort of we're going back to the European level, and I'm looking at Mr. Mularczyk, our member of parliament, who is really invaluable in terms of, in sort of making everyone conscious that we have to collaborate. We in Central Europe have to collaborate. So tell us, Mr. Mularczyk, about your work and the group that you belong to, one that integrates those 3 Cs countries. And also maybe you can mention whether these integration efforts are somehow reflected in what the general public wants. Is there some social support for it, for further integration? Well, there's no hiding that Mr. Rządza, European Member of Parliament, is a great partner to cooperate with, and he was actually the inspiration behind the group that I set up. And I would say politically in the European Parliament, there's a lot of political interest in this integration in Central Europe. But there are different political groups also, and they may be conflicting. So the largest groups like socialists or EPP, they're not always so keen on supporting Central Europe. It's not always their priority, which is a challenge. And there's no hiding that it's really important to sort of integrate and, well, we're talking about 13 countries, right? Sort of, and get them to come together, you know, politicians and European members of parliament from those countries, to get them to come together and do some lobbying. We invited Mr. Fito from the European Commission. He's Italian, and we wanted to pique his interest in the Carpathian region and Central Europe. And next, there will be this meeting in Strasbourg, and I would like to submit a letter with the Council, with President von der Leyen. Also, I would like to address Donald Trump to urge him to look towards the Three Seas areas, the Three Seas area. Actually, in the Congress of the United States, there was a paper from experts presented talking about the role of Three Seas, of the Three Seas and the Three Seas Initiative. And actually, congressmen and women are becoming to realize that the Three Seas area becomes important strategically for the United States, because actually increasing the resilience of this region, you know, making it better connected, giving it better infrastructure, creating better energy security, digitalizing it, that's important from the point of view of our competition, rivalry with China. So it's strategic from the point of view of the United States, and hopefully the new American administration will really realize that it has to become one of their priorities in their foreign policy. And I think it may be a great opportunity for our region, especially Podkarpacie. You, and probably a lot of you, witnessed and knew what happened and saw what happened when Russia attacked Ukraine, how important Podkarpacie was as a region, how important the Jasionka airport became. I mean, still, we have American infrastructure present here. So we, as Poland, but also we as the Małopolskie region, the Podkarpacie region, the Lubelskie region, we have to lobby the American administration as well to sort of make the United States acknowledge that this region should be part of the United States foreign policy. And well, ladies and gentlemen, the Americans see that they need to extend the Jasionka airport and build some roads to connect it better with the border with Slovakia, with the border with Ukraine. So indeed, I believe that what we're talking about right now goes to show that we can do so much together in the future. You know, the Lubelskie, the Małopolskie, the Podkarpackie regions. I mean, they can be part of the United States foreign policy. Therefore, we can be more secure against Russia's influence.
We need to inform Americans that there are projects that are in line with the global safety and security policy. Therefore, a collaboration in this Podkarpacie, Małopolska, Lubelszczyzna triangle is hugely important, and it should incorporate Slovakia and Ukraine. This will generate safety-related projects, infrastructure-related projects, energy projects, digitization projects that are in line with the US foreign policy, which may in the future offer us a chance for gigantic developmental investments into our region. So this is my suggestion to embrace. The Tri-Sea Region Summit will be held at the end of April in Warsaw, with Andrzej Duda streamlining the summit with 13 heads of states. We already have been informed that the US is the strategic partner, and the European Commission and Germany, of this initiative, and Japan, which might come interesting. Ukraine and Moldova are in the observer seat. Therefore, we should keep this initiative high on the international agenda. I believe that the upcoming Polish president will continue the initiative because it is an inherent part of our regions and Carpathians region's development strategy, and on top of that, it is a provider of security and future security for the region and the country. Therefore, I'm open to embrace local governments of Podkarpacie, Małopolskie, Lublin region, to do the lobbying, supporting the projects with European Commission and with the new American administration. Because one of my objectives in the European Parliament is to enhance relations with the Department of State, Marco Rubio, the new Secretary of State, new administration of the United States, and the staff, new administration of President Trump, because they need to know, when we speak about the context, how important is the safety and security of Central and Eastern Europe is. This is the part of the world that we live in. What is the core of CEE is the region, our regions that stretch somewhere between the Baltics, Scandinavian countries, Croatia, and Greece. Our regions, Slovakia, Romania, are the Three Seas region heart. Owing to this and our lobbying, there's a developmental chance, and we need to bear in mind that we've got new administration, European administration. And green transformation is the important element. As we know, much money is earmarked for green transformation, which means what the commune leader said. The retention reservoirs creation, hydropower plants, thermal insulation of buildings, and green transformation partially. Therefore, our local government, starting from the commune or powiat or province level, to tap into green transformation, to use it as a fuel to develop our little motherlands, municipalities, powiats, voivodeships, regions, countries. EMPs are open for collaboration. I live in Nowy Sącz, so just around the corner, so the Podkarpacie and Małopolska regions are close to my heart. We are open to join meetings and conferences and to support strategic developmental projects that benefit our country, the Carpathians, and smaller levels, that is the communes and the powiats. Thank you. I have questions to our speakers, but I can see some people willing to ask questions. Should I pass the microphone? How should I do it technically? I can see there is a mic. Technicians have mics. Here it goes. Over to the public. And we'll be back with panelists. Let me introduce myself. Waldemar Figlusz, Scientific Association in Przemyśl. It's the third day of Europe of Carpathians conference and the conclusion related to previous 2 days. We should suggest or appeal to local government participants to embrace the very important issue of culture. We've heard what the governments find important: natural resources, cheap labor, military resources that require money. And we need to issue a call to take care of culture at the local government's level. There is a wonderful example in Podkarpacie. The Marshal and promotion of Ignacy Łukasiewicz. We have created the institute under his name, though before we didn't have much information about this. I'm trying to impress our guests and inhabitants of Przemyśl. We know who Mikołaj Kopernikus is. No doubts, he's famous. Do you happen to know that there was a friend of his, a true friend, we still have letter exchange, is Bernard Waposki from Przemyśl region, who is believed to be the father of Polish cartography. Bernard Waposki, well, it's all up to us to make him famous, to make waves. There is Copernicus's letter to Bernard Waposki. The letter, as you call it shyly, is Copernicus's work requiring critical reviewing. The soft level of collaboration, that is cultural collaboration between regions, is also important. Good practices, Marek and Wojt Bukowskowo. We need concrete things, but before that happens, Jerzy Kwieciński wanted to take the floor. Jerzy, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. I'd like to point out 3 things that are important for today's discussion. The first question Wojciech was speaking about, macro-regional strategy. We are in the European Union. Macro-regional strategies are the most advanced regional policy instrument in EU. We can clearly see that wherever macro-regional strategies have been implemented, with the first being focused on the Baltic Sea, and northern regions are a part of the strategy, this implementation triggered positive effects in the regions. As I'm saying, the Baltic Sea strategy, Alpine region strategy that we find a paragon, or Adriatic strategy that is being implemented at the moment. Therefore, this triggered the idea to create the Carpathian region strategy. Well, I was inspired by discussions with Marshal Orte and Speaker Kuchciński, because I do remember the first discussion on the strategy back in 2011. It was the first attempt. For so many years, we have not been able to develop the strategy. We need to say it clearly. I was a cabinet member, and we had a formal meeting where we wanted to sign strategy accession, which would legitimize us to apply to European Commission, because this is EU-level management by European Commission when it comes to strategies. Therefore, you have to apply with them. Interestingly enough, most important countries, Poland, Ukraine, because strategies may include non-EU member states. So Poland, Ukraine, Slovakia, Hungary signed the agreement, and Romania sent their a mandate wielder to sign. In the upcoming years, we are not able to create strategy. So we should not stick to void. Macro-regional strategies are hugely important. Barely do we see chances for the nearest future witnessing strategy creation. I haven't heard that our present government holds any discussions or makes any attempts with this regard. And I haven't heard about Romanians changing their point of view. It's time to start working on a new strategy that wouldn't have to incorporate our colleagues and friends from Romania. Romania has got its own strategy, the Danube strategy, which is not managed by them. It's managed from Vienna by the Austrians. But they are afraid that the strategy for Carpathians would weaken the Danube strategy. That's the pain point. So, colloquially speaking, we should not give up on that. We should start working on a new strategy which would allow our region, namely Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, and first and foremost Ukraine, to collaborate in macro-regional strategy umbrella. This is the very important thing. I know that there are attempts. Mr. Ortel was speaking about the strategy in the Committee of Regions, but this is not the decision level. This is the European level, European Council and European Commission, the managers. And the second important thing, new cohesion policy discussions started and changes in the present one. Why is it so important for us, not only for Poland, but for the whole region? Because it boosts civilizational development level. The resources are very well managed. Not only do I speak about Poland, but whole CEE region. They boost economic development in our regions. That's a fact. Not only do we speak about the European level, but this policy is also indicated as a paragon of development policy on a global scale. We have UNO, the World Bank, OECD think tanks indicating to this. Therefore, attention of the regional cohesion policy is very, very important. As I said, discussion started. And the third thing that I want to say about key decision-making institutions, that is, European Council having consulted the Parliament, but Council first and foremost, and European Commission is a technical actor because they implement this cohesion policy. There's a huge threat at the moment because this policy is to be limited from the point of view of finances. With a hindsight, with every financial perspective wanted to limit with the fewest problems 2007-2013 because there was a new wave of member states entering European Union and they should be supported. Every consecutive round saw attempts to cut resources. Why is it dangerous? EU budget is huge. More or less 1,000 billion euros in the main one and 800 on top of that earmarked for the National Recovery Plan to recover after COVID pandemic. Cohesion policy, 400 billion. That is 40% of the total main budget of the European Union. 50% of the budget, more or less, if we think about the National Recovery Plan. You can see what's happening at the European level, the EU level. The huge support program for the military sector has been created, which is very important not only for the European Union, but also Poland, 800 billion euro program. And the European Commission has not dotted the I's when it comes to the new competitiveness enhancement program. It was the first step, if you will, 100 billion euros program, but there'll be more. So the question is where to take the money from. Mainly acquired from the financial market. That means indebtedness, and we need to cover expenses. The member states are not willing to spend that budgetary money in the form of contributions. So what is most natural financing resource is the cohesion policy. Common agricultural policy money also, but agricultural lobby is strong in the European Union. Cohesion policy may fall victim. Sorry for chopping in, but I want to make sure how much time we have. We are not the last point on the agenda. So this is the time that we have. It's the end of my intervention. So it's a great challenge. We are negotiating the present and future perspective. Thank you very much. The strategic level intervention, which is very important to understand mechanisms, which are multidimensional and multifaceted. Executive level is what I want to return to. There are more and more people, which makes us happy. There are more listeners, and they are eager to know about big money and how the big money Jerzy Kwieciński was speaking about translates into smaller amounts important for local communities. Bukowsko, commune leader is first, simple language, accurate examples of cross-border collaboration, how it is delivered in this community. And then Marek.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Those communes like Bukowsko, we have partners in many European countries because we believe that it's really valuable to grow our network, to look at what our neighbors are doing, you know, getting best practices from them. We can find what kind of customs they have, how they live day to day. This is something that's always very interesting. And today we have projects with 3 communes, 3 local authorities in Slovakia, Fulianka, Holčíkovce, and Zeblińskie Habre. So we do have our partners over there, and we have micro projects with them where there are also some soft measures, soft activities also are part of it when we just go to visit one another. And we have infrastructural projects, interreg projects, and we are quite active in sort of looking at what our neighbors are doing and trying to be inspired by them. Like, for example, we are doing some sewage system projects with Ukraine the Rudki commune, this Benkowa Biśnia, Fredrowie, these are very, very famous localities. It's a partner where we do something very practical, sewage systems, but something practical, something very down to earth, but really important from the point of view of my commune. Also from the point of view of Ukrainian local authorities, because we know very well that they are in a difficult situation, financially, geopolitically, of course. And also, we are now in the process that actually one of you mentioned. If you want to develop cohesion policy or implement cohesion policy in communes, in localities like mine, you do one thing, and at the same time you're planning, you're designing your next thing. It's a very complex process. It takes decades, because there's one thing that you're implementing and then you're thinking of next things to do. And within a few years, we might not be ready to absorb those funds unless we do something today, unless we come up with something. So our offices, as civil servants, designers are working all the time. Especially in the mountains, this whole process is a little bit longer, more expensive, because some of the areas are protected. Our landscape and the soil is different also, the soil composition. We have some rocky terrain where it's difficult to build sewage infrastructure, much more difficult compared to when you have sandy soil or some easier soil composition, let's say. So without this international collaboration, and I can't even imagine my local government, working properly. We have this formal assessment of this project that we do with Holcikowce, and I can't imagine, living without cohesion policy. We're working all the time, making sure that we absorb those funds. We are designing our sewage network in 2 localities, also a water supply system as well. We're designing new roads or some road works to modernize our roads, and hopefully the money will be there. Okay, so Marek, same question to you about the Przemyśl area. Lots of challenges have been mentioned, but we don't have a lot of time. So please try and answer briefly what the successes are, what goes best in this collaboration between Poland and Slovakia.
There are good examples from the cooperation from municipalities from our region with you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Yeah, we managed and implemented many projects, but let me just mention 2 flagships, let's say, in last years in our region. The first is a project called St. Mary's Pilgrimage. It's a very popular project where we revitalized many pilgrimage sites in our region. It's also connected or inspired by Poland, so very, very nice and important. And the second one, it was managed or financed by Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Ukraine program, is Poloniny Trail. You know Bieszczady. We have the same mountains on our side, and we implemented a project related to 5 kilometers of cycle paths in this national park. But we have also a to-do list via Carpathia. It's absolutely key project, a crucial project for our region. Improving connection between Międzylaborce and Rzeszów, because we are going to open the very popular museum of Andy Warhol this year, and also Ukraine recovery. This is also a big topic. Thank you.
Dziękuję bardzo. Proszę Państwa,
Thank you so much. There's so many things we could still talk about, right? There's so many projects, so many ideas that come to our minds. So it's really important to fight for those funds. So now I would like to ask you, Mr. Marshall, to give us like a summary, conclusions from this discussion, like what we need to do to make sure that Carpathians really connect and bring people together, because these are the mountains that bring people together, that connect people, but we need money for that, to keep connecting them. Right, thank you so much. I think the important thing is that we cannot rest in our efforts. And I have to say that I totally agree with what Jerzy Kwieciński said, namely all those decisions that are supposed to help us develop and implement the strategy. Those decisions lay within different member states, individual member states. So if Romania is sort of not part of it, well, we have to do something. We have to come up with solutions, even though the Carpathian Mountains are beautiful in Romania, indeed. And we cannot stop doing all those projects because developing our beautiful mountains, to develop our beautiful mountains is really important, and we can do this. There's many projects, but added value when we have this strategy for the Carpathians in place, when the strategy is there, we know that everything we do is like well planned, sort of future-proof, and we can sort of transfer some of the good practices from the Alpine region here in our region. So it's really important that Via Carpathia, the very axis on which we can build our relations, sort of continues. Plus Via Carpathia, as it was said, it's a major project, because you know you can go left, you can go right, you can see interesting things, and we can collaborate socially, economically, even better with Via Carpathia. Plus, we need to also take care of this great heritage that's here. It all really matters a lot. Like, we can say that, and I think you know that Podkarpacie, this region develops wonderfully, and we have sort of respect and we nourish our traditions and our heritage, but at the same time we innovate, we grow, we are modern, and the fact that we build on our tradition doesn't mean that we're backwards or lagging behind. Building on what you already have, building on your heritage, it's super important. And of course, we need to coordinate. And Interreg programs help us coordinate. Małopolskie region, the Podkarpackie region, Przemyśl kraj. This is really, really amazing. And we want this scale to be even greater. And I think that what's happening in the European Parliament, what's happening in our parliament, in the Committee of Regions, all these things, we have to keep them going. You know, we have to keep this fire, this flame alive. And of course, meetings like this one, conferences like this one also contribute to our future, where we can simply develop our beautiful and rich Carpathian region.
debatę.
Ladies and gentlemen, and this way we finish the debate. It was the last debate of the conference. Marek Kuchciński. There'll be a wrap-up of the conference. Marshal Ortel. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I was delegated by Speaker Kochciński to wrap up 3 days of the conference. It's a charming place that is being rediscovered. I mean, the municipal library, this beautiful listed building. Today is a wonderful day to have a stroll or to go jogging in Przemyśl. So let me use this opportunity when we discussed problem-focused issues for 3 days. There's been a plethora of different activities in different areas, which should be the key feature of our attitude towards strategy and ecosystem. When we set out to inform European Commission, European Council with our proposals, they always ask us whether this initiative is mature in local government sense, regional sense, social sense. So we can clearly say that it is mature indeed, having listened to debates and discussions. We've got relations, collaborations, projects prepared, because we indicated challenges for the region, and I think we'll pass on the message in order to build a strategy. Thanks to Speaker Kochciński, and I hope you can express it with a round of applause, because, as you know, any kind of event is easier in development when you are supported by collaborating institutions and competences and activities that are invested this way. We are working in different dimensions, but the conference was successful. We passed the test and success. 3 days were nice, I believe. Not only knowledge, but also other experiences is what you take home from Przemyśl. Thanks a lot. Thank you to panelists and to you.